So when the United States lost all that money they sent to, there's millions of dollars unaccounted for.
Exactly.
So, and here we have the most record production of heroin and hashish that Afghanistan's ever had. The money goes in, it gets spread amongst these warlords and the people who grow it there. But, we've got record production levels of hashish and opium from Afghanistan. At the same time, we've got record Canadian-American troops right there.
Right, well...
And their satellites can see everything.
Exactly. And
they know where every field is.
And when the Taliban was in charge or was in Afghanistan, we had a small production of heroin. Now that the U.S. is involved, we have the biggest crop coming in. So that's got to tell you that we're still complicit in the drug trade. And we use our military personnel to smuggle all the stuff, C-130s. I mean, that's a large
That's the Hercules aircraft.
Yes. Yeah, I mean...
they're the biggest aircraft used by the military, by both Canada and the United States.
Yes, and that's what they use to smuggle. So people will say, well, you're going to be charged with criminal enterprise or RICO charge.
Yeah.
And to do that, you got to prove the transportation. And to bring a large amount of drugs like that, there's only one person that can do that, and that's the United States government.
Sam. Uncle Sam's airline. In fact, CIA had an airline.
Air America, exactly.
So does DEA have their own airlines?
No, we're part of the CIA. And in other words, there's a story that came out that how the CIA infiltrated the DEA to run.
What is that story?
Yeah, it's on the internet, and what it is, it's about how the CIA. We have agents in the DEA. I could not understand. So, for example, we had a guy named Juan Perez. He's a Cuban exile with DEA. He can't speak a word of English. But he's part of the CIA. One of those guys that they call the Marielitos that came in the 70s into Miami, and they all went to work for the CIA. Luis Posadas Carriles, the guy who blew that airliner down in Venezuela.
They wouldn't let the Venezuelans get him back.
No, and I worked
with. He's a terrorist.
Yeah, I worked with him in Central America. He was part of the training of the death squads, but he knew where all the bodies were buried with George Herbert Bush.
Yeah.
So that's why when he came into this country, he came into Mexico and said, nobody can touch me because I know where the skeletons are buried. So finally they arrested him, and they released him recently because there was not enough evidence to prosecute him.
But he blew a whole plane of people, didn't he?
Well, yes, he did, and mostly students from the fencing team from Cuba.
Yeah, like that. So
those are the type of guys that we work with. Felix Rodriguez in El Salvador ran the whole drug operation for Oliver North. Felix Rodriguez, of course, is the guy who shot and killed our Che Guevara.
Is that
in
right?
Bolivia? Yes, he cut his hands off. That's Felix Rodriguez, and I call him a coward. And I told him that the day he dies, I'm going to go piss in his grave.
Huh.
Yes, sir.
So you guys don't write nice letters?
Oh, no. As a matter of fact, I'm always writing letters against Oliver North at Soldier Forger magazine.
Yeah.
He writes for him. And they always, every year, they celebrate Felix Rodriguez Day, because he killed Che Guevara. October 7th is the date of his anniversary.
So he was with the
CIA,
the Bolivian paramilitary.
Yeah, he trained the special forces in Bolivia. But
is he School of Americas?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So all these killer, torturers, bad dudes get taught at Fort Benning, Georgia. That's a massive place.
And it's so sad because the American people, we got over maybe 3,000-4,000 people that show up every year to protest. But they're mostly students.
Yeah.
Mostly.
This is at School of America at Fort
Benning, Georgia. And the problem with that is the American people need to wake up, and I think that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to wake up the American people and the Canadians to let you know, look, this is what's happening. So now, don't take my word for it. Look up.
You're not concluding it's hopeless or anything.
No. You never give up, because Mark, it might be too late for us. It might be too late for our kids, but the ones we need to save is our grandkids, because they're the ones that are going to end up with the martial law, or maybe our kids will end up with martial law, or maybe we will. But we need to fight, continue to struggle. If I save one kid a day by talking about the war on drugs, why it's failed, and why you're going to jail and so forth, this is not right, and we can't give up on it.
Let me ask you something. You saw assassinations, hit squads. Were there any normal people you saw that just protested government corruption that got targeted for assassination? Or
you really don't have
or reporters who were investigating?
Yes, there's a lot of them that got killed. A lot of people that I knew, they started to write about the war on drugs and, the shipment of the governments in Guatemala, shipping large shipments of cocaine into the U.S. or in El Salvador, and a lot of them were killed, and because they started to write, and
So now you're saying they don't write.
They don't write. They take them out before they even get a glimpse of an idea of what's going on. So it's very difficult, and that's why I say we don't have a democracy in Latin America. People hate us because we don't allow them to practice democracy.
So I was going to ask you something that's a bit touchy. Are like Latin Americans more inclined to killing each other, or have
Yes.
they been corrupted?
Yes. Now tell me why. Ask me why.
Well, because
Because
we have gangs here, but there's not mass killings going on. And America's getting bad.
What?
It will get worse. But why does it seem like in Latin American countries they kill so readily?
Because they grew up with it. That's why the MS, Mala Salvatrucha gangs that coming in, they saw all these murders in Central, and now they're down here, and they're enforcers. And that's why, and you know what? They go back to the indigenous people, the Mayans, the Aztecs.
Yeah.
They believed in war, they believed in sacrifices, they believed. So killing somebody, it doesn't mean anything to the Latin people in Central America.